Country versus city living. Pretty obvious choice if you ask me. But what is it about rural property that makes it so much more appealing than living in a city? Is it all just cows and chickens? Or is there more to it? If you are on the fence about leaving the city and buying land, I guarantee you that if you stick around and watch this video until the end, you'll be wondering why you haven't done this already. Hello, my name is Ben with Maple Hill Homestead, and I spent over 30 years living in cities. And 2 years ago, I got fed up with city living, and I packed everything up and moved myself and my family out to the country, and it's the best thing we ever did. Living outside of a city means more than just being surrounded by farmland and not having sidewalks. It truly is a lifestyle. If you live within the city limits, there are a list of ordinances that you have to follow. And if you live in a neighborhood with the dreaded homeowners association, or HOA, there are even more rules that you have to follow. In fact, you may have been living in cities for so long, you don't even realize what those rules are, and that you've been following them. Now don't get me wrong, city ordinances and HOAs serve a purpose. But for you and your family, you may be realizing that those rules are making you feel more restricted. Before we left the city, I was shocked to learn that according to our HOA, I was not allowed to paint our front door without receiving written permission from our homeowners association. That's right, for the house that I owned, I had to make sure that all of my neighbors approved of my design choices. I also learned that our vinyl shutters were a requirement. We didn't have the option to switch to an all-natural wood or cedar look, because that would be breaking the cardinal rule of all subdivisions. Every house must look exactly the same. Our frustrations grew even further after we had children, and we learned that swing sets, a pool, a fence were all violations for our location, because apparently fun and privacy are too much of a public nuisance. When we first left the apartment lifestyle for home ownership, one of the motivating factors was having more decision-making power with our living quarters. Renting came with so many restrictions because we didn't own the structure. So we thought, no problem, we'll buy a house, and then we'll have full decision-making power about the house that we own. Yet there were still so many rules between the city and HOA, it didn't feel like we owned anything. It felt like we had kind of been duped. Living in the country is an entirely different story. Now, it's not like it's the Wild West and there are no rules. You'll still have certain county ordinances that you'll have to follow, but compared to city ordinances or HOA rules, it can feel like there are no rules out here. Do you want to be a naughty boy and paint your front door without permission? Please, that's child's play. Are your kids interested in dirt bikes? If you own a piece of property, you're likely free to build a dirt bike track, smack dab in the middle of your front yard. Let's see you try that in a subdivision. Are you tired of driving 30 minutes to the gun range every time you want a bit of practice? If you own some property, you can just build a gun range in your backyard. Even after 2 years, I still feel like I'm doing something wrong when I walk outside and fire a few rounds into some old rotten vegetables. And let me tell you, your friends will think it's pretty cool coming to your property to do some shooting. I shared some of the things that drove me nuts about living in a neighborhood with an HOA, but I know I didn't have it half as bad as some people do. Leave me a comment with the silliest rule that your HOA has, and we'll see who has it the worst. Yeah, dirt bikes, painting your front door, gun ranges, big whoop. What else is so great about living in the country? Okay, so maybe some of those examples just sound like a bunch of racket to you. Maybe what gets your juices flowing is the idea of some peace and quiet. No matter where you move in the country, I can all but guarantee you it's going to offer more peace and tranquility than any jam-packed neighborhood can. You are probably so used to the noises in your neighborhood that you don't even notice them anymore. Do me a favor, go sit on your front porch for 30 minutes and put your phone down. And listen. Really listen. How many cars do you hear driving by? How many dogs do you hear barking? How many lawnmowers and power tools do you hear roaring? How many neighbors do you hear talking or arguing? Noisy, isn't it? Now that we've moved to a rural setting, just a mere walk down our long driveway to check the mail feels like I'm taking a nature walk. If you've lived in a city all of your life and you buy a piece of property, the peace and quiet will probably be the first thing that you notice. And honestly, who doesn't like a little peace and quiet? What? Still not impressed? Okay, let's try another one. Have you ever had truly farm fresh eggs? I mean real fresh? There is no contest in the flavor and nutrition department, even compared to store-bought organic free-range eggs. Not even close. Yes, I see you back there with your hand raised. and I know what you're going to say. Many cities now allow you to keep chickens in your backyard. However, cities have rules and regulations. The city's going to have requirements about the size of the coop, the breed of chickens, how many chickens you can have. Rules, rules, rules. Keeping backyard chickens is great, but chickens are merely a gateway drug in the livestock world. You're going to want more, and if you own some property, the sky is the limit. You can keep goats, pigs, cows, alpacas. Heck, I know some people who keep camels. Whether you want livestock as pets, a resource, or both, owning property in the country is going to provide you with endless opportunities. Besides, have you been to a grocery store lately and seen the price of meat? I can tell you, after moving out of the city, nearly everything is different. Instead of solicitors, ignoring the no soliciting sign at the front of the neighborhood and knocking on my door, we had kind neighbors coming from all around, knocking on our door just to say hello. And I wasn't annoyed. That hospitality rubs off quickly, and for some reason, you want to talk to your neighbors out here. Be prepared. If you buy a piece of property, it might change who you are as a person. I am so enthusiastic about this that I started this YouTube channel to help motivate you to do the same and to show you what you're missing out on. Some people are happy living in a city and have a great relationship with their neighbors. And there's no guarantee if you buy a piece of property, you're not going to be next to some crazy prepper guy who wants nothing to do with people. But at least crazy prepper guy is going to be hundreds, if not thousands of feet away from your house. I find it very interesting that for those that live in an area where houses are crammed together so closely, how much people can keep to themselves, versus if you move to a piece of property, how much more outgoing people can be. There's a better sense of community, and everybody seems to want to talk to their neighbors. Why is that? I think one reason is that people who live in the country have a better chance of having things in common with their neighbors. Country versus city. No contest, right? Now that I've undoubtedly convinced you that moving to the country is the right choice for you and your family, go watch this video next to make your dream become a reality. Seriously, go watch it. Go watch it now. I promise.